You can have your bees buzzing, your flowers blooming, your trees turning green again on Franklin Street. I don't care about any of that. The surest sign of spring is when that Seton Hall team bus pulls up outside of 𝗂𝘁𝗻𝗄 Stadium, and it's time for the first pitch for the Diamond Heels. Scott Forbes is here to talk with us about it, Coach. Just a couple days away from the season opener. What is the excitement level?
Yeah, it's high. The challenge now is getting your guys to not count down the days, because they all are. You know, I've been there as a player. And baseball is a sport where you're scrimmaging all fall. You get those 2 games, but the guys know even those don't go in the win-loss column. So just kind of, managing it, staying healthy and getting ready for the weekend. And the guys are pumped. And obviously you have these 2 days with the weather like this, so we're taking advantage of it.
What has been, I don't know if the focus is the right word, but what has been the process here as you have whittled away these weeks and closed down here to game week?
Yeah, we've been blessed with good weather. I mean, you guys have seen, we've been outside. We hadn't missed many practices. We timed it up pretty good on our off day to use the day that did rain and put the tarp on the field that day. And really for us, it's always been getting our defense ready and getting our pitching ready early. The hitters have had a lot of at-bats, but now with these machines, they're able to get their timing a little bit better earlier. So really, any day that we've had good weather, it's all about defense and repetitions and fundamentals.
You've got so many different pieces that you can move around in some different places. As you've gotten a chance to see some of those pieces in game situations, what's stood out to you, and who maybe have you thought, he can do some things that I didn't know he could do?
Yeah, no doubt. 𝗂𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗄 has stood out with his ability to defend. So he'll be starting the season at shortstop for us. He's looked really good. He's just moved from second to short, which he's very capable of doing. He's got the arm strength. Eric Grants has really stood out, so much to the standpoint that I'm like, man, should have I been getting him more at-bats last season? And we're not going to have 𝗖𝗿𝗍𝗄, and Johnny the first weekend or 2. They'll be back, but they're out with minor injuries, so that's going to show us also put some guys in some different spots and maybe create some depth for us.
You guys had that terrific run at the end of last season, and that wasn't the only good part of last season. It was just Carolina played so well at the end. What did you learn about your group during those month or month plus there at the end that you hope to carry over to this year?
I think we all learned a lot also about ourselves. We actually went through that last year, how we were 18-2 or 18-3, and then we went through every game as a staff like, wow, like those were we lost 2 Sunday games in 14 innings. And for our team to come back and to rally like that says a lot about them, and we're returning a lot of those guys. So we've challenged them like, okay, we would prefer not to have one of those stretches. You're going to lose some games, but every team's got adversity. Every team's going to go through a tough stretch. But you need to know that. You need to know you're going to fail more in baseball than anything else. But, we use it in a good way and just say, okay, when these things happen, let's try to recover quicker and not let it linger.
Vance Honeycutt might have snuck up on some people last year. He will not sneak up on anyone this year. In what ways do you feel like he's prepared to be the guy on the top line of every single opposing scouting report?
Yeah, he's a worker, so that's a credit to him. It is what it is from the standpoint when you put up numbers like that, people are going to be aware of you. But I do think Vance is fortunate because on some teams, if the superstar or one of your best players, and Vance probably is our best, most talented player, if they're not surrounded with a lot of other talented players, it's easier to target in on him. I think we're going to have some guys hitting around him in Horvath and Osuna and Frick and Grants where they're going to have to kind of pick their poison. And we're also putting Vance back at the top. He had that stretch where he struck out so much that we had to get him out of the leadoff spot. But we feel like we can stick him there just like a Trey Turner and just let him be there all season. And, either way, they're going to have to deal with him to lead off every single game. And but he works, so I don't think it'll affect him a ton.
You mentioned you do have a lot coming back. It feels like you lost a couple of key leaders, though, and that's Angel Zarate and Danny Cerreti. I mean, some guys who had been in your program for a while. How have you seen that leadership void filled by some guys, and who are a couple of those guys that you lean on?
Yeah, and Mikey. Obviously, Mikey stabilized. He was a fifth-year guy with COVID. And not only did we lose 2 great leaders, we lost 100-plus hits apiece. So 2 of the best hitters in the ACC. But the importance. I mean, you guys have been around sports of leadership in the locker room. Your team, you can lead them as a coach, but you've got to have those internal guys to have a really good team. And, we're lucky that Nick Pry and Will Sandy came back, and they're 5th-year guys, and they've been in the dugout. They've been in 2 super regionals and come up just short, so they're really hungry, and that's why they came back. They came back for the right reasons. And I feel like 𝗜H𝘁𝗶𝗶𝗄 has really, and Frick, they've kind of moved into that 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and 𝗬𝗏𝗏 role, as well as Grants, but especially 𝗁𝗏𝗏 reminds me a lot of 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏, like kind of a quiet kid his first 2 years, but has taken that leadership role more seriously.
Max Carlson, a known quantity as far as a starting pitcher, but beyond that, people may not know as many of these starting pitchers in the roles that they may be in.
Yeah.
Who do you think is ready to take that step forward and be that guy, especially on the weekends in the ACC?
Yeah, you know, with my pitching background, I'm really excited to see how the pitching staff unfolds because I feel like we have a lot of talent and a lot of depth. But, you know, we lost 𝗜H𝘁𝗶𝗶𝗄𝗏, so you lose a back-end guy, and you lose Gage Gillian, who could pitch every single day, who was a proven reliever. So I really like the capability of our bullpen, but it's gonna, you know, we're starting the season with an unproven closer. But that's why we decided 𝗜H_𝘁𝗲𝗏 has really stood out. Like he came back for the right reasons. I've never seen him look like this. He's always been good, but he's gonna start Saturday for us. He's earned the role, and then we're gonna start 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on Sunday. But you know how that goes. Things are probably gonna change. 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏's got experience at the back end, so whether or not he has to go back in there, I'm not sure. But we feel good about where we are, you know, starting the season. And Dalton Pence is back from an injury, and he's going to be in the bullpen. Justin 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a name that, you know, has really stood out. He had the red shirt last year with an injury. And then you got the steady guy, Nick Pride, that can pitch every day, as well as some others. So I'm looking forward to seeing it unfold.
So this is year 3 now for you as the head man. The first year was so strange, just for everybody, with COVID and just how that year played out. And then you had last season that you said the great start, a tough middle, and then a great ending as well. Where do you feel like you are in year 3 as the head guy? Do you feel different than you did 2 years ago?
I definitely feel different than I did in COVID. I think we all did. You know, like yeah, everybody said my head would be spinning and my heart wouldn't slow down. Well, it definitely didn't. But COVID, I think, made it as we, you know, so many tests and so many challenges you're dealing with travel. But honestly, I feel like I've learned that one of the most important things is to have a blast. Because at the end of the day, you know, I've been given an opportunity to be the head coach, and I get to walk onto a baseball field every day, and I think that's contagious. I think our guys are going to feel it. I felt like I really learned that as the season went along last year. Like, okay, you work your tail off in practice with these guys, and if I've done my job, they're prepared in practice. In the game, I should be to just let them play. So we practice really hard, and you know, that's our focus in trying to be the most fundamentally type team. But for me, I'm just having a blast.
I was going to ask you that because Adam and I talked to a couple guys last year near the end of the season, and a lot of them talked about just having fun. Like they were just having fun playing, and it did seem like when they started to have a little more fun that the play on the field reflected that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, obviously, we were winning. And
that makes it more fun.
If we keep, you know, 23-18, if we're 23-30, nobody's having fun.
Right.
So we get that out of the way. Like, you know, what's the most fun? Of course, winning is, and then how are we going to do it? You know, I use the Dean Smith adage of we're not going to talk about winning. We say one time we're going to try to win a national championship, and then let's just go to work. And he was a really process-oriented guy, as well as Coach Williams, as well as Coach, all these great coaches. So that's what we've tried to stick to. But you also have to enjoy being out there every day. And I tell our guys, I want 𝗂𝗏𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗏 Stadium to be the one place that you know when you walk in, it's going to be a positive feeling. You're going to enjoy being down here. You know how much you're cared about. You know how much you're loved. And I think that matters, you know, to a group of kids.
Baseball is such a long season. You play so many games. What do you tell your guys about how to handle, at some point, the failure that's going to occur to them that enables them to improve over the course of the season and be where they need to be in May and June when you're hopefully where you want to be?
Yeah, and that's where the process comes in. As cliche as it sounds, but baseball, more than any other sport, you've got to be able to deal with being over. And I use examples. Like I told our guys, you know, Josh Horton was a great example. He was the same guy every single day. I couldn't tell when he walked in if he was 4 for 4 or he was 0 for 4. And then some guys that you could tell early in their careers, they struggle with it more. So what you try to do as a coach is teach these young guys, like, hey, you're going to fail. But there's more to the game of baseball that doesn't show up as far as everybody wants to talk about batting average. Everybody wants to talk about strikeouts. But did you play defense? Did you field a bunt? Did you get a bunt down? You know, did you advance the runner? What's your batting average, runners in scoring position? So we try to focus on the right things. And then as the head coach, you know, you hope that you get better at, okay, you win a game, you know, you want to celebrate it, but you're not going to get too high, and then it's not the end of the world if you lose a game.
Process starts this weekend for the Tar Heels. Friday at 4 o'clock, Carolina and Seton Hall gets the Diamond Hill season started.